welcome to the program Agric Economy on ARSN Television, Mabushi, Abuja, Nigeria. I am Khadija Oluwatoyin. This week we shall take a look at the effect of the federal government waiver on food inflation. And to discuss this with us today is no other person than our economist, Mr. Advert. But shortly before we bring him on the program, let's take a quick break. Let's take a report on the federal government waiver. Stay tuned.
On the 8th of July, the federal government announced the suspension of duties, tariffs and taxes on some essential food items imported through land and sea borders. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, made this known during a press briefing at the National Press Center in Abuja. Senator Kyari disclosed that the listed food items including maize, wheat, husked brown rice and cowpeas will enjoy a 150-day duty-free import window. He added that the move is part of Presidential Accelerated Stabilization and Advancement Plan aimed at achieving food security and economic stability in the country. The minister stated that the government has been working tirelessly to address the food inflation crisis, which has seen prices skyrocket to unprecedented levels. Senator Kyari, therefore, assured Nigerians that the government is committed to achieving food security and ensuring that no citizen goes to bed hungry. As soothing as this news sounds, some farmers and investors feel this is not good for business, although the policy, according to the minister, is just for a short period of time.
Welcome back. It's still the program Agric Economy on ARSN Television, Abuja. Today's episode promises to be an educating and inspiring one, and it's going to answer questions as regards farmers' angle to what they think as regards the waiver and what Nigerians also feel is going to be a succor to this effect. To discuss with us is Mr. Gabriel Dakolo. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, today's topic is one that is relating as an expert and also as a Nigerian, as someone that goes, of course, we all go to the market and understand what's happening in the market right now. The federal government came up to say they're going to give waiver, 150 days waiver on certain items like maize and the rest of them. As an expert first, what's effect will it be on food inflation?
Proper implementation of this waiver is going to really have a positive effect on food inflation. If you look at the past 2 years, for example, food inflation has been running even higher than general inflation. And this can be attributed to the fact that the farmers have not been able to meet up with the general demands of general law of demand and supply in the market. We know challenges have occurred in the agricultural sector, security situations, logistics problems, natural disasters, pests and the rest has really affected output and has not allowed, in some cases that it has led to droughts and famine, to the extent that some agricultural products are very few in the market. To that extent, the prices are continuing to skyrocket. And even despite the best effort of the federal government to release grains from the National Grain Reserve, we discovered that the price of grains has not reduced. Instead, it has continued to go higher. And this can be attributed generally to the scarcity of these products in the market and less competitiveness of the price. And this had led to the government looking at ways of ensuring the price can come down. One of the measures that can alleviate food inflation is having agricultural products in abundance to be competitive to the extent that it will reduce or force down the price. The government can do this in two ways. Is either the federal government release out of the abundance of the strategic grain reserves and other reserves to meet this need, which they have done and has not brought down the reserves, or encourage people, importers, to import commodities with a waiver to enable them to bring into the market at a competitive price. We all know that if waiver is given and products are being imported into the country, it will help to be able to meet the needs that are already on ground, because there are needs on ground. The population is growing, and the products that are in the market cannot meet the need of the population. The cost of purchasing them right from the farm through logistics and other issues have made it very difficult for the end sellers to be able to sell at a reasonable price. And the cost of associated items like fertilizers, like other agricultural inputs has skyrocketed because of dollar differentiation and other factors. So this has already added an additional burden on the farmers, the off-takers, and also the end sellers of these agricultural products. So there is really nothing they can do but to constantly increase the price of these food products to the detriment of the population. But one thing that can reduce the price and bring down food inflation is if there is high level of competitiveness in the market. And this is what the waiver can do. We remember before the border was shut during the Muhammad Buhari regime, the price of rice was very competitive to the extent that it's now between those that are importing the rice and those that are doing homegrown. So when the importers see that the people that are cultivating rice, for example, in Nigeria, are reducing their prices, they are forced to reduce theirs also so that they will be able to sell. But a situation whereby the ban came into effect and gave rise to indigenous farmers being the only one cultivating rice and other products, yes, it's good for industrialization and indigenization of these agricultural products. But it has another hand to it, which is meeting the demands. When demands are not met, definitely is going to skyrocket price, because it's a lot of money chasing few products. So the people will definitely, the sellers will definitely want to sell at a rate that will be beneficial for them when they want to go back to restock. So, and that is a challenge we have been having with food inflation presently. So if the government allows these 150-day waivers and food import is allowed as much as possible into the market to cushion the scarcity that is on ground, it will be able to even up the pressures from the indigenous market and also be able to help ordinary Nigerians to be able to purchase these products at reasonable prices.
Okay, what now has to happen when government now feels that, okay, we've been able to push on this defect, and then we want to withdraw this waiver, or so to say closing down this free trade zone for this?
Yes.
What happens? Because I'm looking at it that people are already started getting it as easily, as cheap as it could be.
Yes.
Putting back the waiver takes us back to where what we were fighting against. How do we
what the waiver does is to give room for some of those food items that are being stopped from importation into the country to come in as fast as possible without any hindrance. This can serve us. That's why the federal government put a timeline on it for 150 days. This is to be on the short run be able to intervene in the food crisis that we have now. You see that people are crying, people are shouting that things are becoming extra tough because of food crisis. The most important means of survival of any individual in life is food. So when the scarcity has gotten to the extent that food cannot be afforded to the extent that people cannot even feed, then you know it will skyrocket to protest, and that's what we anticipated, protest here and there, and discontent by the citizenry, which we are seeing now. So the government wants to cushion it on the short run before the long-term agricultural revolution plan that the government has begin to take shape. The agricultural revolution plan cannot take immediate effect, or we cannot see the effect immediately. It's going to take time. Of recent, the federal government set up a committee for the Ministry of Livestock Development. Yes, the ministry has not even been established. There are processes to it. Before it comes to fruition, before it solidifies on the ground, it's going to take time. And that is why this stopgap measure, this waiver is just a stopgap measure for the government to breathe a bit so that the populace can be able to access food at a reasonable price. Although it has its negative effect, because definitely someone that has been given waiver for a time frame, for a time period, will be desperate enough when the time is about to elapse to import just anything to be able to flood the market, to ensure also that it makes profit at the end of the day, whilst impoverishing local farmers. So that is why the government has putting this stopgap in place, ensuring that the food, the waiver for this commodity does not exceed the 150 days. Also need to strengthen the local farming community. Also needs to ensure that the prices of fertilizer, I don't know, is in this country that you see situation whereby you'll be suffering in the midst of plenty. What do I mean by this? We have companies, manufacturing plants that are blending fertilizers in Nigeria. So I do not see any reason why fertilizer prices should be as high as it is today. So these are some of the issues that should be looked into by the federal government. Come into partnership to encourage farming, to encourage agricultural practices. See, it's good to give waivers for import, but it's more sustainable and enduring if the local farming practice is encouraged as much as possible. How can we encourage them? We have gone past the level of giving fertilizers as subsidizing fertilizers and giving fertilizers. We should get to the level whereby fertilizer become a national monument. When I say national monument, I mean something that is essential for the survival of the country. When we say something is essential for the survival of the country, then the government must put all measures possible to ensure that it's available at all times and at a reasonable price. It's not everyone that can enjoy the subsidy that comes with fertilizer, but if the price is sustainable enough, everyone will be able to afford them, because it is a means to an end. It's the fertilizer that will help the yield that we need to be able to feed our population. So that is one aspect. The second aspect of it is implementation of the Marshall Plan of the government. How fast is it being implemented? Yes, the government wants to cultivate several hectares of land, give out a lot to the citizens to ensure that farming practices are engendered in all over Nigeria. But there are other measures that also needs to be put in place to make it attractive enough for people to go into it. One of the measures is to ensure that the farmlands are safe enough for people to cultivate. The second aspect is to ensure the accessibility of improved implement, improved seedlings to be able to cultivate and make it profitable. Because anyone that is going into any business has at the back of his mind profitability. So if the government has a long-term plan of ensuring agricultural sustainability, we must have a Marshall Plan that encourages everyone that goes into it to see agriculture as a business and to also profit and make a living out of it. If any business that one is making a living out of it, it will stick with that business and it will want it to grow. So that is the aspect I want the government to look at. It is very important for government to ensure that the era of continuous import of agricultural products, what we can actually grow in this country, stops. This stopgap measure, as good as it is, must not be encouraged to go on for too long. And that is why we must ensure that it does not affect the farmer to the level that they will be totally discouraged and will not be able to do their business. So that is my own view on this issue.
Okay, what should government now do in the area of ensuring there's no substandard importation at this point, knowing that the country is in need of this produce urgently, looking at the crisis happening in the region? It's at this time that we see that these importers, want to play a fast one on the nation, thereby bringing some substandard goods.
Yeah.
Some years back, we saw this happen. I think in 2010, when there was a rumor of plastic rice.
Yes.
And the rest of it. What should government be looking at in this aspect?
Yes, just like I said earlier, there will be frenzy of importers to import just anything between the time frame that has been given to them. Just like I also said, at the back of every business person is profit. So people don't want to care how this profit is made, so far it is made to their benefit. Now, that now behoves on the government that if you give with one hand, you have to ensure that you uphold with the second hand. And that is where the relevant agencies of government comes into play. There are agencies that should check what is being imported to be up to standard, to be up to the Nigerian side, to be up to a sustainable standard that will not harm Nigerians on the long run. And that is why all the relevant agencies need to wake up that within this time frame they are up and about to ensure that substandard agricultural products are not imported into the country and being distributed among Nigerians that can lead to health hazards. So the government agencies have to be on their toes and ensure that this is not the case.
Okay, as we've heard it from our guests, there is need for checks and balances in ensuring that whatever is being brought into the country is not substandard. Quickly, we'll take a break. When return, the program continues. Stay tuned. Welcome back. It's still the program Agric Economy on ARSN Television, Abuja. And we've been talking on the federal government waiver and its effects on food inflation. Our guest, Mr. Gabriel Dakola, has spoken extensively on what should be done in regards this. Despite this waiver has been on for days. We know we're going up to like 5 months, 150 days as approved by the federal government. But we still see that some of this produce, some of these products are still on the high side. We still see that the prices have not changed, rather some are even getting more expensive. Looking at maize, for example, the measurement in Abuja here, for example, is we call it a mudu, is a jar that contains a 9 cup or sometimes even less, and it still goes for the normal 1,400 naira that has been the case for like a month now. If you go towards beans is now almost 4,000 naira. As at 2 days ago, market survey showed that it was 3,800 naira. Despite these waivers, what's happening?
Actually, depending on where it's being imported from, you know that the time frame is also very key. When this, looking at the time the waiver was granted by the government and when orders need to be placed by prospective importers to get these products into the market. And you know, psychology of marketing also states that you take advantage of situations when it favors you. So I believe that those that are presently in the market are taking advantage before those imported comes to compete with them. And so, because they want to stand a good chance, they ensure that the prices are to a reasonable extent high enough to enable them to be able to compete when those products come in, so that they will be able to restock accordingly. So because of the fact that those imported ones, the imported grains and the others have not flooded the market, the existing ones are taking advantage of the situation to put a price that they feel will be able to recoup profit and also be able to be competitive in the market.
Okay, so in this regard, what you want to I was watching a Facebook reel on about a farmer's page.
Yeah.
And then the analysis was quite direct. The person said the federal government has said everybody to go to the farm. Federal government has given waiver. What happens to the farmer who already bought these items and this high yield?
Yes, high cost.
High cost. What happened to the farmers who already stock up, who already farm this produce? When this waivers come, it's going to stay for 5 months. As at then, their own farm
produce
is coming out
harvest,
to be time for harvest. How do they compete in the market? This is a huge loss for them. How do they manage this?
I know that every policy that the government is doing is to ensure one, food security, then sustainability on the long run. The aspect of sustainability also co-opts the farmers into this, because the government should not intend that its policies is going to impoverish farmers, and that is why measures have to be put in place that the farmers that are going to bring out their harvest are not operating at a loss. And how can the government do this? The government must be able to match the price that is sustainable enough for the local farmers to be able to sell their product as a profit, and also ensure that the competition does not edge them out. And that is why, because just like we said, this waiver is time bound. It's just for 150 days. If you impoverish the farmer now and the farmer runs into losses and you do not extend the waiver, then we are going to go back to square one. So that is why, in as much as these imported products are going to come into the market and will compete with the farmers also must be protected. Looking at the cost, just like we know the high cost of fertilizer and other farm implements, the farmers must be able to get a margin that will enable them to be able to plant in the next season. And that is why whatever measures government is taking, we must ensure that it protects the local farmers and does not run them out of extinction. And just like the government had advocated that every Nigerian should be a farmer. Yes, everyone can have a small garden at the back of his house or so, but it's not everyone that has the capacity to farm, because there are some people in high-end places that there is no opportunity for such farming practices to take place. So they still depend on what comes into the market. And also there are some variety of crops that go in specific regions of the country. So you can only grow crops that can thrive in the region where you are. You still need crops from other regions. So we cannot say that when every Nigeria or an average Nigeria is a farmer, then it will curb food shortages. It's not possible, because we can only do as much. And those that are also doing backyard farming and the rest can only produce as little as possible. For example, I decided to experiment by planting yam in my garden. It's supposed to be for flowers, but I decided to cultivate yam. I was told there is only one tuber that is going to come out at the end of the day. So if I've eaten the one tuber, after 6 months the yam is going to go. So what's going to happen? Am I going to wait for another 6 months before I eat another tuber of yam? So I still need to go to the market. So encouraging us is good to appreciate farming and to go into it, but it does not guarantee sustainability. That's why we need to encourage farmers to bring out their outputs and make it profitable for them.
Okay, quickly, your advice to farmers before we leave.
Yes, I will. Like I always say, farmers they are the stars of the economy today. This is their time. They should not give up. Every policy that the government is going to bring on the long run is going to be to the benefit of farmers, because we need them to be able to survive as a country. So they are very important people. They are very important stakeholders in Nigeria's economy and Nigeria's survival. So they cannot give up. All they need to do is to continue to be very positive and contributing stakeholders to Nigeria's future.
Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, yes, on that note, you've heard it, farmers cannot, the work they do cannot be overemphasized, and you've heard it, so much needs to be done. After the waiver, we're going back to where we were, and hopefully it's going to be a better one at the time. On that note, to wrap it up for this week, join us again, same time, same station next week. I remember your host, Khadija Oluwatoyin, and I'm saying bye for now.